This Three Beards Media podcast is sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company. When Rob and Chrissy Taylor started following the Kentucky Bourbon Trail in 2012, they fell in love with not only bourbon, but the entire distilling process. Just 8 short years later, in 2020, Revelton Distilling Company was opened, offering an entire family of products including vodka, gin, whiskey, and Revelton Shine. Come visit the tasting room at 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa, where you can sample one of their many spirits, including 4 gold medal winners. Can't make it to Osceola today? Not a problem, as you can pick some up at your local Hy-Vee or Fairway grocery stores. Follow Revelton Distilling on Twitter or Instagram at ReveltonDC or their website www.reveltondistilling.com.
This Three Beards Media podcast may contain mature themes, and if you're not down with that, we got 3 words for you. Like the podcast. Nailed it!
Would you like to sample some of my nuts?
Hello, and welcome to yet another edition of Old Man Strength, a podcast of Three Beards Media and brought to you by Revelton Distilling Company. I am Tim Johnson, joined as always by Chris Shipley. Chris, how are we doing today?
We're doing all right. Finally got siding done on my house, and the gutters went up today, and paint. I'm getting close to a fully assembled house again. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought the Tyvek siding was nice. I thought that was a nice touch. Compliments
right?
the Neptune blue.
Right. I know.
Yeah, no, actually the pictures look really great. You have to be really, really, really pumped to get all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never excited that a tornado will go near town, but after a few thousand phone calls and emails with my stubborn insurance company, I was able to finally get stuff taken care of, which, by the way, sucks ass. That's a pain in the ass to deal with them.
Oh, no, insurance is always a nice and smooth and easy process, Chris.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I'm only now, finally, as of last week, the owner of 1 car instead of 3. So, yeah.
I mean, Melvin always said they didn't build that big 801 grand building down there by paying out insurance claims.
No, that is fair. Before we shoot ourselves in the foot any longer on any ability to get any insurance sponsors.
Right. Exactly.
We might want to go ahead and shift course a little bit. I tell you what, man, this has been a week. Somewhere around 3:00 this afternoon, I was like, God, this has been a rough week. And I was like, it's Tuesday. It has been rough. It'd be a busy week at the brewery if we didn't have the holiday, but throw the holiday in there and trying to compress the schedule has been exhausting. A lot of activities going on. So it's good to take a little bit of break here too. So yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right into this. Chris, why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest this evening?
Yeah, we went a little different path this time because, as we call ourselves, Old Man Strength. What more fun thing to do than to bring on a 21-year-old kid who I'm pretty sure has been reincarnated from a 75-year-old man.
Come on.
You got to own it, Caleb.
I know.
You got to own it.
I know.
Caleb Renner, producer of Heather and The Drive with Heather and Sean on KXNO. Since Heather and Sean have taken on that afternoon show, I've become a much more religious listener. I would catch it every once in a while when it was the other guys on the afternoon show, just when I had time. But I literally have to listen to the entire 3 hours of the show because it's that good. and Caleb is a hidden gem on that show. So I had to bring Caleb on. Caleb Renner, thanks for coming on, Old Man Strength.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I'm happy to join. And, I may be 21, but I've been told that I act like I'm advanced in my years.
Tim, I'm not kidding you. There's not probably a week goes by that he doesn't say something on this show that I don't go, like, who says, what 21-year-old kid says that?
Yeah. I don't know what to, man, I really can't, defend myself here, because it's not like I do it on purpose. Sometimes it just slips out. Like, oh yeah, I do go to bed at 10 o'clock at night and wake up at 8, and I take, vitamins and stuff like that,
I take vitamins.
I
Look, just because he cares a lot more about his health at 21 than you did, Chris, doesn't mean that makes him old.
I mean, I think what did it for me was the episode, and Caleb, you can remind me exactly what this was, but he was deciding that he was going to eat healthier. And
Yes.
on his list was kale. And I was like, what 21-year-old kid
Yeah, that
is eating kale?
that was a whole thing right there, because I was looking at my diet, and it primarily consisted of ramen. And what every smart guy does is he goes online and he listens to what the internet tells him to do for a diet. So they told me to get kale, oysters. Oh, what else was it? Like mackerel, I think.
Mackerel.
Bunch of fish.
That was
Yeah.
the one. That
Yeah.
was the one that I was like, who calls fish mackerel? I've never like, who does that?
Yeah, no.
Wait,
it was
what do you
sad
mean? Do you think mackerel is a synonym for fish? It's a type of fish.
It
What
is.
do
No,
you-
I know that, but I mean, I've never.
What
I
are you
mean, honestly, I'm just saying, I've never in my 52 years thought I'm gonna go buy some mackerel. I've never said that.
Well, that does not surprise me though, because you have the refined palate of a 12-year-old. So that doesn't really mean a whole lot that you
Me
don't.
and Chris are yin and yang here.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, we'll find you will find out that I am absolutely on the opposite end of anything that's popular.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Well, it's not even about popular, but so Caleb, I don't know if Sean or Heather warned you what you were getting yourself into tonight.
I was warned briefly by
okay.
Heather.
Okay.
Oh yeah, what'd she say?
She said, "Be prepared. They're going to grill you." I was like, you know what? I'm not new to that.
Excellent. Well, yes. So no, it does sound like you are the yang to Chris's yang. Why don't you go ahead and start off and tell us a little bit, aside from the fact that you are apparently an old man trapped in a young man's body, why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself?
Of course. So I am a 21-year-old in Des Moines. I started out in north central Iowa. I was born and raised on a farm. My dad is a longtime farmer. It's a generational farm. I think I would be considered the 6th generation if I were to go back and farm.
Mm-hmm.
But I spent all of my high school days and middle school days in north central Iowa in a small town called Garner. And
Okay.
then I actually moved down here for college. I tried to get a degree at DMAC, and I followed the footsteps of Ross Peterson and dropped out for radio. Much to my chagrin. But after doing that, like I said, it's kind of funny how I got this job, because it's nothing like, like I'll hear Sean and Ross talk about how they started or how Heather started, and it's normally like a long process, and they put a lot of work into it, and they dedicated a lot of time and energy. I was scrolling through Indeed, and I found this job opening for iHeart. And I was like, you know what? It's not going to hurt to at least apply. And the idiots called me back and said they wanted to set up an interview. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this isn't happening right now. So I did the interview, and it went well, I guess. The bosses liked me. I gave a good impression. Fake it till you make it is what I've been told. And ever since then, it kind of is like flown by. It's crazy. I remember about a year ago, I was at DMAC and I was going to classes, and life back then, if I could have told myself for a second that I would be where I'm at right now, as far as with the show that I have with Heather and Sean, and the connections I've made, the friends I've made, and how different my life is. It would be shocking. I wouldn't believe myself for a second. But yeah, it's been a ride. It's been so much fun. I got to meet Chris at Heather's garage parties, and I got to know him better. And it's just such a cool place to be at. Like there's so many opportunities here, and there's so many relationships that you can build. And it's, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I really wouldn't.
I'm certain what you just said pissed off a number of people that you backed your way into radio.
Yeah, I'm sure
given
it
the
did.
number of people.
I'm sure it did. Because I can't lie. I can't say, yeah, I was working in the electrical side of things, or the mechanics side of things, for like in the radio station for 50 years. I took all these classes, and then I finally, was able to get some airtime. Like, no, that's not how it worked out at all. I found the job on Indeed. And of course, Ross was my co-host at the time. So the first time that I produced a show, he introduced me and I talked on air. And that's something that people legitimately work their whole lives for. And it's kind of just how it worked out. Sometimes that's just how the cards are dealt, and I made the most of it. And that's how it got to this point here. And I've got a long ways left too. I mean, I'm only a producer. So,
well, but I think that you entered into the right situation with a group of people, whether it's Andrew Downs or Ross or Heather, that have allowed you to kind of, I mean, they talk a lot about it on that radio station. They're not normal, right? They're not the normal radio station. They don't, they don't call out the time and temperature every 20 minutes. And they don't, I think I've heard Travis say in the morning before, to Justin, whatever you learned in school, you can just throw that out the window, because we're going to teach you how to do radio here.
Exactly.
And it goes back to the same thing I remember my dad telling me when I went to college, and I remember going, I was going to be in business, and he said, okay, well, this is what you do. You go to college and you learn how to run a business, and then when you come back, I'll show you how to make money.
Yeah, that's that. You are absolutely right, Chris.
And I love that, and I love that story and that theme and whatever. And you and I had talked a little bit before we went on air. My career path. I mean, listen, I went to college with a business degree. I got kicked out for grades. Went to DMAC, came back into DMAC, went to my advisor and said, "What degree am I closest to?" And they were like, "What?" And I was like, how many credits do I need to graduate? Just look at every degree. What am I closest to? And I think she said, I was like, I don't know, like X number of credits from a poli-sci degree.
Yeah.
Sign me up. I'll take it. And she's like, what? And I was like, I just want the degree. Like at this point, I don't want to quit. I want to finish it off. And my dad always said, there's people out there that are way more qualified than you are that don't have a college degree. The only thing that college degree is going to do for you is open a door that it may not open for me.
Yep.
So, get a poli-sci degree, work for my dad right out of college, helping him run a store, self-taught myself IT stuff, and now I work in marketing. So I don't know what that tells you, other than the fact that if you have some kind of a plan or whatever, you can just toss that and throw it right out the fucking window, because that's not going to work.
Well, that's the fascinating part about, I don't have a plan. Like I have no plan whatsoever. I don't know what's going to, I don't know what's going to happen a year from now. I don't know what's going to happen a month from now. It's crazy, and that's the way of life. And that's kind of the cool part about it, but it's also kind of the like absolutely maddening part about it. Like it sometimes drives me nuts that I have no idea what's going to happen, but that's at the same note, that's kind of the beauty of it.
So when you left Garner for DMAC, you must have had some plan in mind. Like, yeah.
I wanted to go home and farm.
Really? So you wanted to go to DMAC and then turn around and go back home?
Yeah, I wanted to get out as quick as I could with my 2 years, and then I wanted to go home, settle down, and farm. And I'm not saying that still might not happen later down the road, but life throws you curveballs. Who knows? Maybe I get fired in a month from now for saying something stupid on air like that. I would not be surprised at all.
Sean's still there.
That's
You're
just
safe.
how life works out.
I'm just gonna say Sean's still employed, so I think you're good.
That's a great point.
We love you,
Great
Sean.
But yeah, no, I wanted to go home and farm, and I wanted to continue, and that's still very important to me. It's my family's legacy. Those 2,000 acres of land is, I would hate to see it either be sold or go to somebody else, or because I know my brother and my sister certainly don't want to farm. So, and I have an inkling of an interest in it, and in a way it'd be cool to incorporate radio with farming. So I've looked into ag broadcasting and stuff like that, and I don't know. We'll have to see.
So on that note, as far as ag broadcasting, I have a very good friend that did that for several years. His name is Ken Root, and I would imagine that maybe your parents probably know who he is.
I'm sure Dad knows everybody.
But and he is in northern Iowa now, I think, somewhere up there. But what, to Tim's point, you went to DMAC for a reason. What was your reason for going to DMAC?
I went there to get a degree in agribusiness.
Okay.
And I mean, really, that's about the easiest degree you could ever get, period. Show up to class, you get at least a passing grade, and then get out with your degree. And I don't know what it was. I think there was a conflict in schedule with the radio station and the classes I was taking at the time. And I was like, oh, fuck this. I'm not gonna go to class instead of like this one shot I have as being like a producer for a radio station. So I just stopped going to classes. Like I full on stopped going to classes. I made that decision in my head, and that I rolled with it. But yeah, no, it's crazy how things worked out. It really is.
I did that too, Caleb, but only I was at Iowa State, and it was every morning when I got up and I was like, I'm going.
It was just a lot more expensive for you.
And then I was like, no, I'm not really going to go.
Yeah, no. He left. He quit going to school for an opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just didn't go because I was lazy and it was cold. And
yeah, because
I lived in the towers, and that was a long ass walk.
No,
I don't blame you, man.
See, Caleb's.
I really don't. I bet you were a little hungover too.
Way more. No, I was never.
Oh, really?
Never. Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. I drink a lot of Bartles and James.
Oh man, that gives me a headache thinking about it. Yeah, I need to get some of that Revelton stuff soon.
Tim is stunned. Yes, we definitely will get you some. So, absolutely. So, Tim, I'm just going to go with a question here. Since he talked about farming, that was actually on my list, was to talk about. Tell me about your family and where you grew up. What was that like?
Okay. It's a family of 5, just east of Clemmy, Iowa, which is a smaller town than Garner. I think you guys may have heard of Garner before, Garner Hayfield, the school. Just south of Garner is this small town, like at least 800 people, I think, maybe less. And we live just east of it in about a 10 acre acreage. And I know people talk about culture shocks and stuff like that, and it really can't be that much of a culture shock moving from a farm to a city, like in Iowa, a farm to Des Moines. Like it's not that much of a culture shock, but I spent my whole life, you'd go to bed, you wouldn't hear a sound. You could walk outside butt naked if you wanted to, which ironically enough was like one of my favorite things to do. I'd love to walk outside just with, my trousers on and, feel the cool breeze. But, it's, I don't think I ever want to not live on the farm. Like when I grow up, I don't want to live in the city. I don't want to live in the suburbs. I want to live on the farm. And that's something that I think it was kind of like a disease that was put in from birth, like a disease that was put in me from birth. Like you can't, when you live in the farm, the peacefulness of it, the ability to, see the stars, and you can do all of that in the city, but there's a different atmosphere with the farm. And
you can't do that in the city, man. I miss stars so much.
I do too. I do too, brother. Like seriously, I miss like I miss we had a corn dryer right down the road, and that would lull me to sleep, and I miss that. I miss the barns creaking in the distance. As creepy as it sounds, it really wasn't for me. It was like super soothing and really peaceful. And the animals, I miss waking up early, and as much as I hated it when I was a kid, when my dad would have me wake up early and go feed the cows or something like that, like I miss that a lot. Like the cool air, and pitching some hay in the troughs, or it just being surrounded by all of that, I guess, to put it shortly, being surrounded by farm animals, nature, the stars, the openness of it too. And, cornfields for miles. That's something that people say they can't stand about Iowa. I disagree. I love cornfields. I love, you can't see anything but corn for miles. I think that's gorgeous. I might be a little weird, but that's what it was like with me growing up. And yeah, I moved to Des Moines, and now I will hear at least 7 sirens throughout the night of a cop car going by, or an ambulance. And it drives me nuts, but I know why I'm doing it. And I know I wouldn't trade it for anything, because I love this job and I love the people I'm surrounded with. So,
boy, you sound like you live in a sketchy neighborhood. I'm in Minneapolis, and I don't
Right,
hear
where you living
7
at?
sirens at
downtown
night.
Des Moines, right in the heart of Des Moines. I live
That's
right next
your-
to the Ruin Center.
Oh yeah, I know where you're at. Yeah.
Yep.
You know what? I work right around the corner from there.
Oh, really? Where do you work at?
I work at the Locust Building, right kind of catty corner from 801 Grand.
Oh, then you must have seen me
So-
walking around naked in my apartment, probably.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it was that.
Oh,
that,
man, I
that
let it
late
all
night
hang out,
episode
dude.
of In Time with Renner. That's what I was watching.
You're right about that, good sir. I'm not bashful at all. As soon as I get out of the shower, I leave those curtains up, and I know, because I see office businesses right across from my apartment. I keep on forgetting this isn't the radio. This is a podcast.
You can.
I can say whatever the hell
You
I
can
want.
say
now.
whatever the hell you
absolutely.
want. That's right.
Absolutely.
Oh, hell yeah.
I got to tell my boss to move my desk now.
Oh man, I'm like, you know what? If they're looking, they're looking. It's not my problem.
That's right.
No, I agree. I'm the same way. The problem is I usually do it in the office.
Oh, really?
You don't want to be naked where I work. There's a lot of opportunity for danger. So,
oh boy.
a lot of hot things, a lot of chemicals. It could get trouble. That's awesome. I grew up in rural Iowa as well. And I do miss a lot of those things. I was not someone who thought I would end up back in rural Iowa, but now that I'm in my 40s, I'm like, man, getting out into the middle of nowhere sure would be nice again.
Doesn't that sound nice, dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, we moved down to southern Iowa when I was in kindergarten. So that I grew up, I don't know, 4 or 5 years on a farm, on a 40-acre farm. We didn't do a lot of farming. We had a little bit of livestock, things like that. But some of that stuff you just is peaceful, right? And it was kind of nice. It's funny, I've not lived in that. It's down by Liberty Center, Lacona area. I don't know if you're familiar with that, just south of Indianola. So
yes.
I have not lived there probably since I was in 4th grade, right? So I was telling Caitlin, my second oldest, about it, and she's like, I want to go down there. I want to drive down there and see it. So I was like, okay. Somehow I remembered every house and every turn.
I bet.
From when I was 4 years old. And we lived in quite a few houses. I mean, my parents moved around a lot. We had a fire down on the farm. On the 40 acres. So we had to move. We lived in a rental house, and then we moved in another house. But I mean, 46 years later, I still remembered how to get to every house. I remembered every school that I went to down there and where that was. I mean, it's a smaller life, and it's kind of nice and chill. And I miss a lot of that stuff, which I think is the reason why I live where I live now. I live in Norwalk, which is, I mean, it's a small town feel. I mean, I can go out on my front porch and listen and hear the football game on Friday nights from my house. And I'm still 10 minutes anywhere that I need to go for, what I want to go do. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds. Yeah, I mean, Southern Iowa was gorgeous too. Like, holy shit. I a little piece job that I had like when I was in DMAC was I had to pull anhydrous tanks. God knows why they let me do that. One of the most dangerous jobs you could ever do is pulling a goddamn anhydrous tank, seriously. And I had to take them to all these fields around Indianola area, and it's actually quite beautiful there. There's a lot of hills and there's a lot of groves and stuff like that. Just stuff like that I think is simple, gorgeous. I think, I don't know, man. And there's things about the city I like too. I mean, you're closer to everything, and there's a charm to the architecture and the skyscrapers, and well, for what skyscrapers Des Moines has, I'm speaking in layman's terms, but the Capitol building's gorgeous. I can't wait to work in there.
Skyscraper.
Yeah, you're right. One.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend who, after several decades on the farm, recently moved into town in the Cincinnati area, and he was like, "Man, you know what I appreciate? DoorDash."
You're right.
Oh my gosh.
It's like just the fact that like I can order something and have it to my house. Like you don't get that on the farm, and sometimes there's certainly some of those conveniences.
Yeah, no, if you're snowed out, like if you're snowed in your house in the farm, you're kind of screwed, to an extent. But we always made it work out. We're good. You go out and you kill a cow or something like that, and you roast it over a fire.
Oh, okay. No, you're not joking. I know you're not joking, because I actually watched my dad shoot a pig once.
Oh yeah, mine too.
And I absolutely lost my mind. That was when I knew I could not be a farmer. There was no way I wanted no part of that. I love that poor little bastard.
Oh
yeah. Caleb, your parents probably aren't listening to this, so you're safe.
No. And I'm not gonna, they don't need to know about this.
All right, good. So
we're letting it all out.
What's one story your parents do not know about you that you could share with everybody else?
Oh boy. There's quite a few here, Chris. All right. How you want to open up this can of worms here?
Yeah, we do. Those are the best episodes, Caleb.
All right. Well, I could talk about, okay. So there was one night and to this day, it blows my mind how my mom doesn't know about this. So I was getting a little drunk. I was off the liquor, in high school, and I was feeling myself. All right. So I was talking to this girl at the time, and I asked her, I was like, "Hey, you want to, go drive around or something like that?" All right. So we are driving in the snowy gravel roads of Iowa. Just, eventually we find a field approach and we start making out and stuff like that. And then on the way back, she tries to kiss me while she's driving a vehicle, and then crashes into somebody's acreage. Whole car. It was like a 2016 Malibu or something like that. Nice new car. Dad bought it for her. Tries to kiss me while operating vehicle, drives it into an acreage.
It's a newer car than I've ever owned in my entire life.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I literally just sold one of those last year.
So I'm freaking out. She's like, I need to call my dad. I happen to know this lady's dad, and I know he's not, he doesn't like to fuck around.
Yeah.
And I get out of the car and I run away. End of the story. Never
you left that girl by herself.
I left that girl in a cold car all by herself because I did not want to deal with her dad at all. Like I knew something was going to happen, and my primal instincts kicked in, flight or fight response, and I ran. I got out of that car and I ran, and eventually a friend of mine came and picked me up. But ever since that day, and I don't know if mom does know about this. I don't know if she knows about it and she just is too ashamed of me to bring it up or something like that. But I have never brought it up with her. She's never brought it up with me. I know that this girl's mom and my mom talk a lot, and they actually are, they have a, how high school moms get. They chat. They like to chat. They like to, spread gossip and rumors, especially in a small town.
Yeah, everybody knows that shit, Caleb. I'm telling
Oh,
you
I
right now,
guarantee you
they all know.
it.
They
I
gotta know.
guarantee you it.
Yeah.
Right.
I was gonna say your parents may not know that story, but all the ladies listening to this podcast now.
I mean, you can picture it. Like all the ladies, they go to the bars or something like that. We have a VFW in our town, and I guarantee you, they're like, yeah, just Caleb, he bailed on this girl and he ran away. And should we tell Nikki? Oh no, we shouldn't tell Nikki. We shouldn't. I can see that, dude.
I mean, now I gotta know. Did you ever talk to the girl like afterwards and what happened with her? I mean, was her dad pissed? Now I gotta know the rest of the story.
I kind of feel like a douchebag here, Chris, but no, I did not. I couldn't bring myself to it.
I mean, I can't say as I blame you. It's putting your head in the sand and just hoping it goes away is.
Oh yeah,
how I was 16. How I got through the majority of the majority of my high school.
Fuck this. So, I got out of there. I'm like, I'm an idiot. Not to mention on top of that, I was drunk. Mom and dad, very opposed to that. Me going out kissing girls, not, like they'd like to know about that. Anything and everything I could have done wrong, I did wrong that night. And somehow I got away with it. Karma's got to catch up sometime here.
Listen, I once drove drunk in the car with my mom and she didn't know it. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, and my mom does not know that story to this day.
Were you seeing double?
It was not very smart.
I had an uncle who always told me that there's drunk driving and there's driving drunk. He told me there's a distinct difference between those two. And I never took his word for it, but he was
that's good advice.
Yeah. No, don't worry. Karma is coming for you.
Oh, I'm sure.
You'll just end up falling bass backwards into some other job that you didn't earn, and
exactly. I don't doubt that one bit.
Oh my gosh. Well, on that note.
Yeah, there's my story, assholes. You finally you had to wrench it out of me.
Oh, I love it.
Just starting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. I want to switch gears a little bit. So Chris kicked us off saying that you are, an old man in a young man's body.
Yeah.
But there's one thing that Chris has going for him, is that he hates everything. So are you going to be that type of old man, or do you think that you can still look on the bright side of things?
Wow.
Well, let's unpack this here, boys.
Okay.
So when you say Chris hates everything, do you mean he's got more pessimistic tendencies than your average person? Is that a fair way to surmise it?
I'll let you answer that.
I would just say that if there's things that are popular, Chris immediately wants to go ahead and say that they aren't, just to be a contrarian. You are a contrarian to a fault.
First of all, I don't even know what that means.
Okay, so I see what I see how this is. So Chris, you're like the type of guy, like you don't like the popular, it's more of like you like the indie things,
I like what I like, and if it just happens to not fall with the masses and all the lemmings out there, then I'm persecuted for my beliefs.
Well, because you immediately decide that if something is well received, i.e. a shower beer, right?
Oh, come on.
You have decided that, everyone else is just following a trend rather than enjoying a shared experience.
And a shower beer is a splendid shared experience. I'll tell you what, that's a gift that every man should enjoy every single day. There's nothing greater than a shower beer. Like, seriously, Chris, you cannot tell me for a second that you've never had a beer in the shower before. And if you are, then you're lying to me. You're lying to me.
I think he froze. I think
he froze too.
Oh boy. He has claimed, because he always do I get soap in it? I'm like, well, no, I know how to do things in the shower where I don't get soap in them. Like, no. I don't think he understands the concept.
See,
Oh yeah, we
there he
lost it.
goes. See,
Yeah.
okay, so this is the correct way of having a shower beer here. You get in the shower, you get the warm water going, and you start chugging that sucker. And the colder the beer, the better, because it's like contrasting. You know, you got the cold shower, you got the ice cool beer, and then as soon as you finish that beer, that's when you soap your hair. That's when you put on the body shampoo and all that, or the body wash. You know, that way you don't get the soap in the beer.
I lost internet, so I'm sure this was a riveting conversation of why you should drink alcohol while you're trying to bathe yourself and clean yourself.
Oh, give us a break.
I'm just saying.
Come on.
So this is exactly what I'm talking about. Is here he is trying to act all cool.
No, I don't understand the appeal. I'm in the shower for one reason, and that's to clean myself and get out. I don't linger in there and hang out in there. The other thing was today somebody had posted the scene from WKRP and the Thanksgiving episode.
Absolutely.
Where they dropped the turkeys.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not a funny show, and I don't get the episode.
Well, that just because you don't get it, there are a lot of things you don't get. You didn't understand. You don't get the meaning of the word contrarian. That's not really a rubric by which we should judge anything. If you get it, that doesn't mean that it's something high level here.
In other words, I did not find it funny. I don't find that show funny, and somehow I'm a bad guy.
Yeah, you are.
So Caleb, those are your examples. Now, based off of those examples, are you going to be an old man like me, or are you going to be a crudgety old man like Tim?
I don't know. I think I'm a little combination of both, you know, like there's some things that really just rub me the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, water chestnuts.
Yeah. Don't eat those. Don't put those on my plate.
I like water chestnuts. Yeah.
Oh, fuck you, man. No, you know, like water chestnuts and all that, and loofahs. Like, I don't like those. But
I love me a good loofah.
Really? No, I use the hands.
Oh yeah, really get those lathered up,
dude. Especially when you got to scrub between your cheeks. Like, that's uncomfortable, dude.
It's more uncomfortable if you don't clean back there. I'm just saying.
I know, but like, you know, either way. Changing the topic. I know I brought that up. I started that, but I'm gonna finish it here.
Okay.
The moral of the story is I think that I'm a little combination of both, because, you know, like I'm a very positive guy to a certain degree. You know, like if I'm having a bad week or something like that, or, you know, I'm not getting the right amounts of serotonin, I'm gonna try and look at things from the best possible perspective, and try and look at the world in a more favorable way. But at the same time, if I'm eating, like, you know, a nice casserole or something like that, and I feel a damn water chestnut in my mouth, I'm gonna be pissed about it, and I'm gonna have my mood ruined for the rest of my day.
It's the crunch, right? It's the whole texture
Oh,
of the water.
man,
See?
That's the whole point of it being there.
Sends shivers down my spine.
That's the whole point of it being there. You're getting textural differences. You don't even know what mackerel is, Chris. You might want to sit this one out.
I know I don't like water chestnuts. I know that. There's a reason they're only in Chinese food.
They're not, but yeah.
Yeah, no, they're not.
What else are you putting a water chestnut in?
They're starting to sneak those suckers in some more American food, Chris. They are infiltrating our society, and they're taking over.
I'll tell you right now.
Jesus Christ. Did you really just go there?
I swear to God, if I get a bacon cheeseburger and there's a water chestnut on there, I'll be pissed off.
No, this is the final straw for me, man. That's the final straw.
Don't be ruining my American cheeseburger,
please.
Oh my goodness. I'm glad that your culinary palate from an ethnic food standpoint has extended as far as what you can get at like a PF Chang's.
Now you're getting really fancy. I've never eaten at a PF Chang.
I was gonna say that's
Way
actually
too
pretty.
expensive.
Yeah, Golden Walk. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
I go down to the local Hy-Vee and get my Chinese food like every other Central Iowan.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Hey, there's actually Des Moines actually has a pretty decent restaurant scene, all things considered. Caleb, are you a guy that likes to go out to eat, or you
Oh, yeah.
cook for yourself, or
If the bank account allowed it, I'd go out a lot more, but I like, we had this Chinese joint in Clear Lake that we went to a lot before, and it was the China buffet. And I used to call it the China buffet because I didn't know that, the E and the T at the end was like it made a different noise. But no, we loved that. I used to, and that was the beautiful thing about it was we would go there. We'd pay what, $12 for the buffet pass, and I would load that sucker up every single night. I'd stuff my gill. But that was, yeah, no, I love going out to eat. And but yeah, dude, right now the bank account does not. I was eating dough last night, brother. I was eating dough, pre-cooked dough. And I mean,
isn't pre-cooked dough called bread? I'm confused here.
Pre-cooked dough. Yeah, no, this was like it was still goopy. And I had stuff in my apartment. I was a little too lazy to cook it, but yeah, no, I remember sitting there last night eating dough and thinking, damn, it's come to this.
Tell you what you do, Caleb. I'll give you a little tip here.
All right.
So when you don't have any money and you need food, you call your local pizza delivery place and you tell them that the last order you had was incorrect and there should be a credit on your account.
Oh.
And then when they say, I don't see any, then you pull a Karen and demand to speak to the manager.
Oh.
And then they'll get you a free pizza.
Dude, that's genius.
I do not endorse any of this.
Hey, no.
Saying,
Chris is onto something here.
I'm just saying, when you're a 21-year-old kid and you got to eat, I mean, the poor kid's got to eat. He can't eat dough.
Oh, he's gonna eat.
These big corporations can Pizza Hut can afford.
First of all,
pizza.
they're local franchisees. The corporation isn't paying for that. You're screwing over a local business owner, even if it is Pizza Hut.
A brother's got to eat, Tim. A brother's got to eat. I'm just saying, man. And you don't do that with like a fancy pizza joint either. You do it with like a yeah,
like a Papa John's. That dude deserves it anyways. That Papa John guy. He just
Papa John's.
Anyways. Yeah.
You screw Papa John's over, all right? And you don't look back either, all right?
I may or may not confirm that once that worked, I called every local restaurant in the town of Ankeny when I lived there and had food for a week until I got paid. May or may not confirm that.
Oh, good. Well, I guess we're also not getting pizza joints as sponsors for
yeah, you guys are
media.
really screwing over your chances for a sponsor here.
No, because we have the best sponsor ever in Revelton Distilling Company.
You don't want an insurance company? Come on, man. They got to be rolling in dough.
No, Chris, that was actually a pretty decent segue because we actually have to take a break and get a word from our sponsor, Revelton Distilling Company.
It's fall, it's football, and no better time to celebrate those victories or soothe away those losses like a drink from Revelton Distilling Company. Imagine a cool, crisp Saturday morning at your tailgate, friends and family enjoying a quick morning cup of coffee spiced up with Revelton's Whiskey Cream and Liqueur. Their cream liqueur is made from a 3-year-old Iowa corn bourbon whiskey with a cream and notes of chocolate and honey. Wow, does that not sound like the perfect way to begin a day watching your favorite team dominate on the field? Then after the game, sit back and relax with one of a kind honey old fashioned with Revelton's Honey Whiskey. Oh, and something new and exciting is on the horizon. So be sure to check out all their updates on their Twitter or Instagram page at ReveltonDC.
Welcome back. We are once again still joined by Caleb Renner. Caleb, before the break, you were getting a little bit of shady advice from Chris on how to feed yourself.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, in your long 21 years, if you were talking to high school kids up in Garner, what advice would you give them?
So if I had to go back to high school kids in Garner, what would I tell them?
Yeah.
Oh God. Um, I think what I would tell them is to never ever expect that you know what's going to happen ever. Never think that you have a clue of what's going to happen in college, in life, in relationships, your careers, where you will be. If you have a plan, any semblance of a plan whatsoever, chew it up and spit it out, because it's just not how it's going to be. And for better or for worse, and don't get upset when your plan doesn't work out either, because that takes away so much of what this journey of life is all about. A really, really wise man once told me that life is not about the pursuit of happiness, but it's about the acceptance of responsibility, and adding responsibility to your life, and adding purpose to your life is going to create the offset of happiness. It's going to, you'll find happiness along the road. I mean, I flirted with that all my life. I constantly was seeking for happiness and seeking joy, and all that led me to was getting drunk every single night, or treating my friends poorly, or being selfish, and waking up the next morning with a hangover and a lot of anxiety and depression and unsatisfaction with my life. And I guess I had sort of like a firsthand experience with that. I know what it's like to constantly be chasing the dragon. And I know that's used in the context of heroin, but you can use it in a lot of different, it's the same. I mean, yeah, you're right. That might have been the wrong term, but it's
no, I get what you're saying. It's about chasing that next high, that next,
exactly. Yeah. And that doesn't have to be drugs either. People find people find things, people are a slave to everything, whether right now, maybe I'm a slave to radio, or maybe I'm a slave for something else. And people are always constantly chasing something, and it's some sort of happiness or dopamine or anything like that. And that is so dangerous. It is really dangerous. And it's proven, at least to me, from my experience, incredibly unsuccessful and incredibly unfulfilling is the word I was looking for. What at least created some bit of change in my life is when I stopped having expectations on life, and I tried to be the most responsible and respectful man that I can be, to an extent, without feeling guilty whenever I couldn't be responsible or respectful. Then I started to kind of like, it's almost like the pieces kind of fell in place, and the things that I wanted to happen in my life started happening in my life in a way that I didn't expect it to. So that's a really long way of explaining what I'd tell a high schooler. The other thing maybe is like, go out and have fun and get drunk with your friends. You'll never get those years back. And I'm sure you guys can attest to that too. You guys, high school and college are some of the best years of your life, and you go out and have fun. Sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes just go out and get drunk. All right.
Responsibly is
don't drive.
That's what you mean, right?
Yeah.
Responsibly. For sure. So let's talk a little bit about you work for a sports radio station. Were you always a big sports fan, or have you found yourself gravitating more now that you're on the radio station? What Iowa State fan, I'm assuming. is what I understand. So
Yep.
tell me where that love came from, or how you got into that.
I'm gonna keep it really real with you guys for a second, all right? And don't tell Sean or Heather this. I'm actually not that big of a sports guy. Seriously. Sometimes talking about sports
considering
drives me nuts.
Considering your take that this was a defining moment for Matt Campbell over the weekend,
Right?
I was like, what the fuck is
Like, you know
that?
what? Do you think I know what the fuck I'm talking about? Like,
I
half
was
the
like,
time
what
on
is
radio,
that?
I don't. No, like, I love sports. Don't get me wrong. I love watching sports. I love Iowa State, of course. My family is a big Iowa State family. I've been born and raised a Cyclones fan. But oh boy. Sometimes, man, when I'm sitting there behind those buttons in the studio, and for the 5th week in a row, all we've been talking about is how Brian Ferentz needs to be fired. I get really sick of it. I do. Sometimes all I really want to talk about is, well, I want to go out and buy a rowing machine or something like that. I'm normally the person on that afternoon show that brings up those unsports related topics, because sometimes it's just refreshing. But don't get me wrong, I like sports. I like talking about it, and sometimes I do try to do my research because it's my job, and sometimes I try to give an informed opinion on it. But if you ever wanted an expert analysis on why Iowa State is, failing this season, or why Matt Campbell, the next direction that this program needs to go for as far as like head coaching changes or offensive coordinator changes, do me a favor and go to a Jared Stansberry or a Chris Williams or a Steph Copley. Not me.
We've had all three of them on this podcast. They don't know what they're talking about either.
That's right.
They know a whole hell of a lot more than I do. I'll tell you that much.
That Steph, just so you know, that was Tim that said that, not me. That was Tim. I think you're the smartest woman on Cyclone Fanatic. So I think you're the smartest person on Cyclone Fanatic. How about that? So
I was gonna say, why'd you even have to qualify that with gender?
I don't know, because I'm 2 whiskeys in.
Yeah, you asshole, Chris. You douche.
Oh, you have no idea, Caleb. I'm a big dick.
It's all right.
So you obviously did not know what you were getting yourself into when you applied for this job off of Indeed.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
What do you think has been maybe the biggest surprise about radio that maybe you just didn't even expect going in?
How many people still listen to the radio station is probably my biggest surprise. And especially people my age. I didn't expect that at all. I expected radio to be old news as far as, 20-year-olds like myself. I'll still go to like college related events and people will know me from the radio station, which is a really, like, you got to be really careful about that in my position, because I can get a pretty goddamn big head from that shit, and I need to keep myself in check constantly. And it's something also at the same time that I am unbelievably grateful for, that there's people who listen to me, and who am I to have deserved that position at all? I didn't do anything special. Like I said, I didn't even work that hard to get to this point. I found an ad on Indeed. Like I think that's what surprised me the most. I think when starting at this job is the amount of people who listen to it, and the demographic of people who listen to it. And it's something that surprises me and I'm blessed with every single day, is the support and, the people who tell me I'm doing a good job. That's really special. And I may not be on this radio station for the, rest of my life, but I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life when I'm old and, working on a farm or a McDonald's or who knows, but I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life.
From his silo.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be interesting, I think.
his little studio in his silo. Sorry, that was the only farm reference I knew. I don't know what a silo is.
I think that'd be a good selling point, Chris. Come to the podcast with Caleb in the silo
There you go.
with the pigeons.
There you go.
Yep, that doesn't sound creepy at all.
Let's get weird.
So
Speaking of getting weird, go ahead, Tim.
no, go ahead. I know you can't say speaking and getting weird. Come on.
Well, so that leads into you have a nice little segment on the on Heather and Sean's show. So would you wager?
Yep.
We're gonna play a little version of Caleb's Would You Wager. here.
Oh boy, here
Okay.
we go.
All right. So give me your little tagline.
All right. Holy smokes! Let's get after it. That felt great.
It's so good. I laugh every time. All right. This is what I'm telling it. This is what I'm talking about. I don't know shit about radio. I don't know shit about podcasts. I don't even know why Tim lets me make decisions around here.
It's
But
good. You guys are doing awesome.
you absolutely have a natural voice for this, and just that banter stuff just makes me crack up. All right,
I
so
appreciate it, Chris.
you have $100 in Caleb bucks.
All right.
Which one of these scenarios would you wager the most happening in the next 5 years?
All right. Hit me with it.
Getting married.
$0.
Okay.
I'm quick. Yeah, no, that's not happening.
I wrote this list earlier before the podcast, so I already know I'm not gonna say the next one. I'll say the next one last. But
All right.
rooting for the Vikings.
Oh God. Chris, you know the answer to that. Is there a way I can bet negative dollars? Is there a way I'll put $50 on me always?
We're gonna
rooting
dive
against
into
the
your
Vikings.
hatred of the Vikings because I'm genuinely curious.
You want to know? Oh, go ahead.
What would you two more? You
Okay.
meeting Ja Morant?
Oh, you know what? I'll listen. Hear me out here, all right? Just picture this. I spend, a year in the gym fine tuning my basketball skills. All right, in the lab, cooking up a step back. All right, I wouldn't put it past myself to be as good as
Like
Ja
Billy
Morant.
Hoyle. Billy Hoyle from White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, realistically, I love Ja Morant too much to ever disrespect him like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put $0 on that. Also, I've got $100 left here, Chris.
Okay, and the last option is not working in radio at all in 5 years.
Oh man, you really put me on the spot for that one. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I'll put $5 on me not working on radio at all in the next 5 years because I don't want it to happen. I want to work in radio and I want to be a part of this station in particular in KXNO. And I want to be part of this community, doing stuff like this. But I have no idea, man. Like it's 5 years. If you don't think that's a long time, then you are mistaken. A lot. I mean, both you and Chris and Tim, look at your lives 5 years ago.
52 years old. 5 years is like a month.
I mean,
Oh.
you're talking about a 2016 car, and I was like, you mean a car that did this story happen yesterday?
Yeah.
Right?
Back then it was a new car. But no, I'll put $5 that. And man, I don't want to bet on something like that. You're putting me in a precarious situation here, Chris. All right.
You can pocket the $100. So what
I
you're
think I'm
saying
going to pocket the
is
$100.
the
I think I'm
odds
going
of any of those things happening in the next 5 years is zero. Not getting married, working in radio. You will never root for the Vikings. Why is that? You have some kind of hatred for them. I'm on board. I'm 100% on board with it.
You're on board for it. Thank you. I
Any
appreciate
team
that.
that wears purple is bad in my book.
I think that Vikings fans are A, delusional, B, they are incredibly annoying and incredibly confrontational, especially on Twitter. There's not a badder bunch of people on Twitter than Vikings fans. and I will go to my grave with that. Man, after hearing all of those, the most likely thing to happen is probably me getting married in 5 years. So I don't know how the hell you came up with that, Chris, but wow.
Well, let me introduce you to Tim, who's a big Vikings fan.
I am not a big Vikings fan. I'm a
Oh,
reluctant.
Tim, I apologize.
No. That's fantastic because I don't disagree with anything that you said, whatsoever. I didn't grow up a Vikings fan. I became a reluctant Vikings fan because I've lived here now for almost 20 years.
Yep.
And I grew up. I grew up a Dodger fan, but the Twins were my AL team, so I always rooted for the Twins. So it was very easy to turn into a Twins fan, or not even turn into, just embrace the team full time. I didn't grow up watching a ton of hockey, but I remember as a kid hating what they did with the North Stars moving down to Dallas, so it became very easy for me to embrace the Wild, and they were, a pretty young franchise when I moved up here.
Yeah.
The Timberwolves were easy to root for, especially because when I moved up here, Freddie Hoiberg was playing for them. So that was all kind of a nice, easy transition. The Vikings, it's funny. So my ex-wife, her folks had Chiefs season tickets,
Mhm.
and we went to a Chiefs Vikings game, and she told me before the game, she said, just so you know, I'm going to be rooting for the Chiefs, just like the rest of my family. And I said,
Yep.
Great, that's awesome. And then the Vikings scored the first touchdown, and she was screaming and hooting and hollering, and she had turned into a Vikings fan. And I hadn't even become a Vikings fan yet at that point. So, they were one, but I think, it's certainly something, I have a lot of family up in north central Iowa too, and so as a kid I would get like Vikings helmets and stuff like that, but I also had family in the Milwaukee area, and I'd get Packer stuff, and growing up in Iowa, we just paid attention to college sports more than anything at the time.
Yeah, that's NFL, it's not irrelevant here, but it's certainly not as nearly talked about. College football's king here. I think honestly, what you brought up, Tim, about north central Iowa, that might have a very, very large part of my disdain towards Vikings fan, because there was Vikings fans everywhere there. Like a majority of everybody in north central Iowa was Vikings fans, and that could maybe that's where I relate to Chris, because how he like if it's something popular, it kind of rubs you the wrong way. So I mean, maybe that's like I'm not a big Vikings guy, and
you could do worse than be like me.
Hey, don't sell your. You know what?
I mean, he could do a lot better, but he could do worse. It's fair.
Jeez. But yeah, no,
wow. Hurtful.
Me and Chris can relate to disliking water chestnuts, so he can't be.
There we go.
That bad of a guy.
No,
water chestnuts and the Vikings.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I grew up in eastern Iowa, and everybody were Cubs, Bears, and Bulls fans. And I had decided at a very early age that those weren't going to be my teams. I didn't know who my teams were going to be, but it wasn't going to be those teams.
That's smart.
I get that. But that was also because I was, 8 at the time. Since then, I've changed my approach to life, because I'm a mature adult now, Chris. But I did grow up
Jury's
having.
still out on that. Jury's still out on that.
I did grow up having a very big disdain, particularly for the Bulls too. Right. I never denied Michael Jordan's talent. I felt he was overexposed, not overrated or by any means.
Yeah.
But I just got tired of seeing his stupid face on every single ad and every single thing in every single way.
I bet.
So that's probably what helped. And then plus it was just easy to root against the Cubs.
Well, I feel, how you feel about Michael Jordan when you were a kid is how I feel about LeBron now,
for sure.
As a kid.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Different era, but
that's how I felt about Brett Favre. Got tired of him because everybody loved him.
Yeah, well, now that's coming back to bite him in the ass.
Yeah, see, I was ahead of the game on that deal.
He's taking
I knew what a
he's taking
douchebag he
advantage
was
of that
25
welfare
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think and then I went on and became a Steelers fan. So I don't know how that makes sense. I wanted to be different than all the Vikings fans. So I decided to like the most liked football team in the National Football League, which is the Steelers. But
Could have been worse. Could have been a Cowboys fan.
that's a great point right there, Chris Shipley. That is a great point.
Could have been terrible.
Yeah. Oh,
I got a chance to meet Emmett Smith.
oh, really?
Yeah. And when I went up to shake his hand and get my picture taken, what I told him was, I'm really glad you got this opportunity to meet me.
That's fucking hilarious.
That's so great.
Oh man.
Oh, awesome. Well, should we do our sponsored question, Tim?
Yeah, and I am going to take the sponsored question this time.
Okay.
I kind of intentionally stepped on our typical question last time because I want to mix it up a little bit here. And by the way, I should say this question brought to you by Wintrust Mortgage. I should make sure to go ahead and get that.
You're not.
There you go. It's
You're
the
not used
sponsored
to actually
question
giving the
after all.
question. You're all messed up now.
I am all messed up. But please go check out Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage for all your mortgage needs.
Are you in the market for a new house and unsure of the mortgage process? Want to know that you have someone looking out for you? Kyle Lehman from Wintrust Mortgage is a down-to-earth, knowledgeable lender who can be there for you in your corner. He can work with you in any of the 50 states and is just what you need to expand your home search. Kyle will work with you through the entire process with little to no work from you. Take the worry of the mortgage process out of the equation so that you can focus on looking for your dream home. Contact Kyle at www.wintrust.com/Kyle-Lehman or call him at 515-473-0546.
This Wintrust Mortgage question this week is, Caleb, I go ask everyone that you know. This is a two-parter. One, what are the 5 words that you hope they use to describe you? And 2, what are the 5 words you think they actually will use to describe you?
That's a great question. The 5 words that I think my friends and my family would I would want them to use to describe me would be funny, thoughtful, articulate. This is a tough question. I got 2 more left. Zeal, like a zeal for life, and also easygoing, and I don't know, throw a dash in there to make it one word.
Okay.
All right.
No, that counts. I did appreciate the good pause there right after you said that you were thoughtful and articulate.
Yeah.
I thought that was perfect.
Yeah, I you got me in a tongue twister there. It's kind of hard to pinpoint ways to describe yourself or ways that you think you would like to be portrayed to other people. But
sure.
The words that I think they would use for me are a lot easier to pinpoint, I think, because I know.
Okay, let's hear them.
Late would be one of them. Certainly. I don't have very good time management skills.
That's good. It's not like you have a job that requires
exactly
time management.
Right. Hitting breaks on time. And
yeah. It's almost like my job is centered around that. But late, funny. I think that some of my family and friends would say that I'm funny. Maybe not selfish, but maybe self-centered to an extent. I can be very self-centered sometimes. If you put them in a room by yourself and you told them that I would not hear this, there can be instances in my life where I can be pretty selfish, and that's a character trait that I'd like to change. Careless is another one. I've fucked up a lot, and I've been very careless with a lot of my life decisions. But also I think that my family and my friends would say that I'm loving and I care about them a lot. So I think that's the 5 words I'd use, or the 5 words that I think they would use to describe me.
I like that. It was a very honest, refreshing answer. I think it's a good mix of trying to show some self-awareness while still respecting yourself. But I would say that I still think you're probably a little too hard on yourself. I think the funny, articulate, thoughtful, those 3 already stepped out. I'm like, yep, I think those things work as well.
Well, I appreciate that a lot, Tim. And that's a really interesting question. Like, that really made me think about like what my image is with my closest people, like how I portray myself to them. And I think the more you think about that, the more it kind of not only accentuates the greatest parts of your life and the greatest attributes of yourself, but it also kind of makes you aware of things that like you need to put in order and you need to change, to be a better person. And I want to be a better person. I don't ever want to, be the same, like I don't know. But I do appreciate that a lot. And I try hard to be articulate. I get that from my dad, definitely.
Well, I think you're the most important part is what they say is perception is reality.
Yeah.
And I think you have a good handle on how you are perceived by other people and recognize that. And that's a really strong suit, especially, and this is not pandering or not condescending in any way, especially for somebody as young as you are, because I think we joke a lot and people on the show joke and the listeners joke about how, you're a 60-year-old man in a 21-year-old body. But that's actually, I would take it as a compliment. I find you to be smart and articulate as well, and refreshing. And I think you have a pretty good handle on things at your age. You're 21, you're going to make stupid decisions and stupid mistakes and whatever, but you seem to have a pretty good foundation. And I would assume that that's coming from your upbringing and the good family that you have. So
I appreciate that a lot. And it's more than my upbringing. I've got to give credit where credit's due. Ross Peterson, Heather, Sean, are all amazing mentors in my life, and they have affected me in ways that I can't even explain. And this is this is not a shot at my dad at all, but Ross was for a while there my second dad in a way. And it's just because, I was in Des Moines and dad was up north, and
sure,
I spent way more time with Ross than I ever did with my father. And he was a huge mentor and somebody who I looked up to a lot. But yeah, I really do appreciate that, guys. And it's, and I take those comments about how I'm a 60-year-old man in a 21-year-old body with really good faith, because most people who I look up to are people who are much older than me. And that's and I never also want to man, we're really getting deep into it here.
we sometimes do, Caleb. That's okay.
Yeah, I those are my favorite conversations to have. I never want to say that I'm something that I'm not. And I like to, it feels good to admit that I'm, it feels good to admit the bad parts of my life, because it makes me feel authentic to myself. It makes me feel like, I'm not lying and saying, oh yeah, I'm a perfect, kind-hearted, funny guy who, never fucks up. I fuck up a lot. And I do things that I shouldn't have done constantly. And the best thing that you can do is, I've heard this a million times, admit it. The first step is admitting it, and don't be so narcissistic and full of yourself that you ignore those parts of your life, and then try and change it and listen to the people who are a lot more wiser and older than you, have a lot more experience. You know, it's good advice, I think. So.
It is good advice.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of end my portion here, and then Tim, you can chime in on what you want to say. But some of the things that you just said there kind of resonated with me in that you recognize your mistakes and you recognize your decisions and how they affect things. And I Tim and I have talked a lot about our families and our kids here, and I've spoken quite a bit on this podcast about my oldest, Taylor, who at the moment, if I'm being brutally honest, I don't have a great relationship with. And it's taken me a long time to realize that I've constantly said that I wasn't a very good father with her because of the mistakes I made and things like that. And those mistakes I turned around and was
That's
able
good.
to raise my other kids a lot different.
Yeah.
But without getting into too deep of stuff, she is not talking to me right now and saying some things that are just untrue about me. And
Yeah.
I'll just leave it with this piece of advice. My dad once told me that if you can lay your head down at night and know deep in your soul that you were a good person and that you did the best you could, that's really all you got to worry about.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I take solace in. The fact I know that I made mistakes when it comes to her, but I did the best I could at the time that you do. And it's the same thing with you. You're gonna, in 5 years, according to Caleb Bucks, in 5 years you're gonna be married, and then you'll have some kids or whatever. And you know what? All those decisions that you've made now are gonna come into the fact of what kind of father and husband or that you'll be. And that's just the way it is, and you'll figure it out. So
I agree with that. And you know what you said earlier about how at the end of the day, if you can lay your head down and know that, you know, what you did was your best and you fixed those things that are wrong and you made right with other people and you tried your hardest to do that. It sure is hell when you lay your head down at night and you know deep down that you didn't do that. And
right.
that's something that, I mean, talk about anxiety and hell. Like that's my own little mini hell there, is when I go to bed and I know, you know, I'm not right with this person, or I said this and I shouldn't have, or I had this opportunity and I didn't take it, or I fucked this up. Like that is really, really detrimental to your soul, to your mind, your conscious, whatever you know, it's something that it might sting a little bit to admit you're wrong. It might sting, it might hurt, it might trip up your ego, but it's more than worth it to admit those faults and to move forward with a clear conscience, I think. But great advice.
Well, shoot, I almost feel guilty asking this question now because it's gonna make me sound like a dick. But I was gonna ask,
like that's ever stopped you.
You know, that's true. I was gonna ask, when was the last time you ever talked to that girl you left stranded in the snow in a wrecked car?
Oh yeah, that's you know, that's a good point. I have not reached out to her in a long, long time. I haven't.
I probably wouldn't. Her dad's probably still looking for her.
Yeah, you're right. And he's probably pissed about the damn car, the nice 2016 Malibu that got wrecked.
Let's be honest. That Malibu wasn't that nice.
No, it
wasn't that nice.
There was bottles of alcohol in the back, and she shouldn't have been driving in the first place. But
well, good,
yeah, no,
he is an avid listener of the show. So
yeah, he probably is,
Right.
and he's probably gonna find me on Facebook and ring me a fucking new one.
Like,
but,
damn it!
Yeah,
I knew that kid was in on it.
Yeah, and like I said, guys, that's just one of many stories. You know, I've done stupid stuff in the past, and I'm not going to justify it. You're right. I should probably reach out to her and apologize for
nice
leaving
job,
her.
Tim. You guilted him into it.
Hey,
hey,
you know,
I come from a long line of Germans. We're very good at guilt.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Caleb, is there anything you kind of want to plug? Anything you want to talk about?
We have one
Not-
more segment, Tim.
Oh, that's right. Oh, you're right. Absolutely.
then we'll
Actually,
end.
well, this would be the perfect time
That's
to,
right.
to introduce that.
Yes, it would. So you mentioned Steph Copley earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
We had Steph on. And I always tell the story. At one point, she just told Tim and I to shut the fuck up so that she could say what she wanted to say. So we decided to make that a sponsored segment, but we turned it around a little bit and we asked that in honor of Steph's shut the fuck up moment, that everybody go donate to the Young Women's Resource Center here in Des Moines, especially at this time of the holidays. They could use all they could help. So you just Google the Young Women's Resource Center, hit the donate button. And with that, we will take a quick pause and play Steph's message. And then, Caleb, we're going to come back and we're going to let you tell us to shut the fuck up and you can say whatever the hell you want.
Sounds good.
Hey everybody, it's Steph Copley, the woman behind the STFU segment on the Old Man Strength podcast. When I told the guys I wanted to sponsor this segment, they recommended that I make a charitable donation instead, so that's what I did. I chose the Young Women's Resource Center in Des Moines, Iowa. They're a nonprofit that supports, educates, and advocates for girls and young women ages 10 to 24. Their whole goal is to make sure that these young women become strong, self-confident, and successful. And if you know me at all, you know that aligns with my goals as well. If you're interested and would like to donate, check them out at ywrc.org and donate today. And remember, don't forget to STFU and listen every once in a while. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Steph, for that. Caleb, this is your time. Tim
And I can say
will
whatever
shut
the hell I want.
Tim and I will shut the fuck up. We can't say anything. We
All
just
right.
have to take whatever you want. So the floor is yours, my friend.
All right, guys, shut the fuck up. And what I want you to do right now is I want you to go on your TV, look up the ESPN app, the NBA app, or whatever the hell it is, and watch yourself a goddamn NBA game because it's fun, it's exciting. There's the dunks, there's the action, the crossovers. I mean, I'm begging you, go watch some NBA and shut the fuck up.
And
I like
that's your portion of Rim Job with Renner.
That's
Sponsored
Rim
by
Job with Renner right
Astroglide.
there. Brought to you by
Astroglide.
what is it? Hydroglide. Brought to you by Hydroglide. My
It's
choice
not-
of lubrication.
It is not Hydroglide.
Oh, it isn't? Oh.
No, it's called Astroglide.
Astroglide. Yeah, there you go.
That's what I've been told.
Oh my!
Oh,
yeah,
my
that's what
God.
I've been told. Oh my goodness.
All right, Chris, you're fooling nobody.
Excellent. Well, yes, as I was saying before that segment, and by the way, I do agree. I have been secretly following along to the 76ers game this entire time as well.
That's good.
Yeah. Hey, Jordan Yang messed around and got himself 16 points.
Yeah, I
You
saw he was
seem-
chirping at KD earlier.
I was
He
just gonna
was.
say he was chirping at KD. Gotta
Yeah,
love him.
absolutely. Well, Katie only did 20, so he did not do them. But thank you very much for that. If you ever come up to a Timberwolves game, look me up.
Absolutely.
We'll
Yeah.
go sit in some cheap seats and have some fun at that.
As long as they're playing the Grizzlies.
Okay.
Hey, also thank you guys. This was a really, this was a fun time, and you guys are super professional, and I like it was a lot of fun sort of opening up with you guys and just chopping it up. I always love doing that with anybody and everybody, and this in particular was a good time. So thank you.
Absolutely. Chris, is there anything you wanted to go ahead and talk about for our listeners before we let Caleb go?
Yes. So 2023 new podcast coming to Three Beards Media in partnership with the Des Moines Police Department. Hosts Sergeant Paul Parisic and Heather Burnside, along with a good friend of mine, Dave Campbell. They are going to be bringing you a new podcast from Three Beards Media, sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company. Of course, we ask that you always drink and drive responsibly. Inside the Tape by the Des Moines Police Department. It's going to be a new podcast. They're going to go over cold cases, solved cases, highlights of the department, things like that. Your inside look into Des Moines Police Department. It's going to be actually recorded in the Des Moines Police Station. So we're really getting fancy around here. So we are super excited to bring those guys on and honored. You know, Tim, the biggest thing for me that I took away from the meeting with Paul was when he talked about when they had the previous podcast before, when he would go to some of these families and tell them that they were going to be talking about some of their loved ones and trying to bring these cases back to light. Joy is not the right word. The look on the family's faces when they knew that they weren't forgot and that their loved ones were important, Paul said was the best thing about this. So I'm honored. We're honored that we're able to be a part of this and to bring this to you guys. So again, watch Three Beards Media on Twitter at Three Beards Media for announcements on those and updates. But 2023, Des Moines Police Department presents Inside the Tape.
Excellent. We have a lot of great content out there, but once again, we want to say thank you to our guest, Caleb Renner. People can go ahead and find you on the Drive with Heather and Sean with KXNO. Any other things you want to go ahead and let them know how to check out you, your work, anything like that?
Oh yeah, no, you can find me on Twitter, Caleb C. Renner. Besides that, I don't think I have much else to plug. I'm starting a new podcast, I guess. That's coming up. Me and Justin Miller, you hear him on the mornings with Ross and Travis, and we're going to start doing a podcast together. But, I appreciate it again, guys, and listen to the radio show. And I have a lot of fun on there. And yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate your candor, your humor, and we hope to check in on you from time to time.
Absolutely. Have me on anytime.
Excellent. Well, once again, you have wasted, I don't know how much time, an hour and a half with us at Old Man Strength, a podcast of Three Beards Media. Please go ahead and check us out at threebeardsmedia.com. You can go ahead and find this podcast on Twitter while it still exists at strength_old. Chris is at SciGrad, I, for the time being, am at Tim Johnson MN, but who knows? I'm trying out that Mastodon. We will see how that goes. We appreciate you guys listening. And with that, we will catch you guys next time.